And England are back in camp, boys, at the start of this weekend of the autumn test. What do you guys make of Eddie wielding the axe? The Vunipola's gone, George Ford gone, Jamie George also gone. What do you make of that?
Goodey, are they gone? Are they gone? Or is it a kind of kick up the backside? Jamie George, let's be honest, is a bloody weird call. I can kind of see Billy. To a degree, I can kind of see Mako as well. But Jamie George and Ford, big call as well. But Jamie George, is it a kick up the arse? But why is it a kick up the arse?
Mate, the one I don't get, the one I don't get is Jamie George. It's for me, obviously Luke Cowan-Dickie has kind of edged his way just in front over the last year. I think a lot of that has got to do with Saracens playing the championship, and then obviously the form of Jamie George and the England team as a whole to start off with in that Six Nations last year. Cowan-Dickie got himself ahead. On the Lions tour, Jamie George played pretty well, captained the Lions. He didn't make the Test match 23, which was a bit of a surprise, especially as the Test series developed. But yeah, I mean, obviously Jamie Blaymire played for England over the summer from Newcastle as a hooker, and he's a decent player. But Jamie George not being picked, and all due respect, Sam Riley made his Premiership debut off the bench last weekend for Quins. And he's on the bench again this weekend for Quins. Now, he's definitely going to be a good player in the future. I'm not bagging him as a player at all. He's about 12 years old. Jamie George, I don't see what he's done wrong to not get picked in the squad. Billy and Mako, I think, a different kettle of fish completely. When you look at Billy, you've got Sam Simmonds and Alex Dombrandt as direct competition in the number 8 jersey. Let's not forget he played Tom Curry there as well last year. For me, Billy is a rocket. You've got to perform for Saracens. You've not performed well for England for the last 6, 9, 12 months kind of thing. So that's a rocket. Same for Mako a little bit maybe, off the back of the scrum not going overly well at times in the Lions series, and the fact that Ellis Genge and Joe Marler, bringing Joe Marler back into the mix changes things for Mako, because Marler's in there on form, but also his scrummaging is world class. So if he's going to start at loose head, you then need a point of difference off the bench, which obviously is, Ellis Genge, the baby rhino coming on. And so you can see that as a rocket. The George Ford one, again, similar. Marcus Smith has been outstanding. George Ford hasn't played that well for England over the last sort of 6 months. And it's a rocket for him as well. And my goodness, he started the season in excellent form. So for me, the door's never closed, but Eddie has started to listen to our podcast, as he said. He started listening to people in the media, and he's actually now flipped his kind of decision making. You go back 18 months, he was like, Premiership form doesn't really matter. It's not relevant to international class and international form. Now he's starting to change it, because he's actually picking form players on Premiership form at the back end of the season in terms of the summer series. And now, he's picked some exciting youngsters that are performing on the Premiership stage week in, week out. And it's great to see.
Such a strange shift, though, do you not think, around the mentality of Eddie? I suppose the whole organisation, really. It's hard because we don't want to go too hard on it and too hard on him. Fuck it, let's go hard on him because he's earning a significant amount of money, and he's meant to be judged by people doing podcasts like us. Massive change of guard every single season of coaches, flip-flops between sticking with players, not sticking with players. And I like the loyalty that he showed. He showed after the 2015 World Cup, and he obviously phased some of the guys out off the back of that and stuck with them and gave them, guys like Dylan, guys like Rob Shaw, gave them the opportunity to kind of go out their own way as opposed to just dropping them straight. And then the Six Nations as well. And it was there to all see, and it was different because it was a COVID year. He wasn't picking on form. It almost seemed like he had a bee in his bonnet about Sam Simmonds, and the media absolutely loving him. Sam Simmonds goes on the Lions tour, and then he almost does what everyone kind of wanted him to do, but he's waited to do it almost out of just despite the media. I don't know. Maybe I'm just seeing things, but it's just a weird setup, isn't it? Because and then now it's is now the right time to drop, George Ford with Marcus Smith, maybe, like you just said about the hookers. No disrespect to them, it's obviously unbelievable. Jamie George, he can go to the next World Cup easily. But then on the flip side, you've got Youngsy, who again, we love Youngsy. We're at Leicester with Youngsy. He's got 100 odd caps or whatever. You're not really looking to the future, though, are you? With having Youngsy in there. Not saying that Youngsy shouldn't be in there, but it's almost just like a bit of a mishmash.
Well, yeah, I think Youngsy's different. He can go to the next World Cup. And because he's had that stranglehold on the jersey, what Eddie hasn't done is really embed someone else in as a direct competition. Danny Kerr played against Japan pre-World Cup 2 years ago, 3 years ago, probably now, hasn't been seen since. And, you know, I know they had a falling out. I know Danny Kerr sort of put it to Eddie Jones a little bit around selection, and he just didn't pick him again. So if you cast off Ben Youngs now, for me, that's not the right thing to do, because you're losing all that experience where actually you haven't blooded someone else. There's not, you know, in the prop position, you've got Joe Marler with a whole load of caps and Ellis Genge who's got a whole load of caps. So if you lose Mako, that's not that bad. Whereas if you take out Ben Youngs, you've got Dan Robson, Rafi Quirk, and Harry Randall in there. So I'll say that again. You've got Dan Robson, Rafi Quirk, and Harry Randall as the other three scrum halves to Ben Youngs in the squad. None of them have got much experience at international level. So you can't just not pick Ben Youngs, if that makes sense. And Youngs is class. You know, he hasn't played that well. But because there aren't that many other options in terms of experience, and 9 is so pivotal in terms of running the game, you need Ben Youngs' experience in there, and you need to actually maybe he doesn't pick Ben Youngs this autumn and just gives Dan Robson the 9 jersey, and then has Rafi Quirk or Harry Randall on the bench as a point of difference to give him experience. But to be fair to Eddie Jones, he ain't doing it now. 2 years out from the World Cup, he's not doing it at all, is he? And you know, he's come out and he said that he's not extending his contract. England have said we're going to, you know, Eddie Jones's tenure will come to the end at the end of the World Cup. So now, if he's going to make changes, he's not planning for anything else except for the World Cup. So he can blood as many of these young players, and we might get a bit of pain along the way with, you know, a lot of these inexperienced players playing. But ultimately, he can always bring those boys back in as and when he needs, because he needs to learn about the other players in these positions now to go forward to win the World Cup, hopefully.